Right. So my next topic is why should we even categorize expats? And this is also a really big fundamental area surrounding expats. Remember, the reason we categorize our expats is because you need to know who qualifies for certain allowances and benefits. From a tax and regulatory compliance, including work permits, you would put them into the certain buckets. You also align them with corporate tax compliance, so you don't want them to inadvertently create a permanent establishment risk. And it also helps with good HR practices, so it's aligned with your reward and benefit strategies. And it also assists in clear admin processes with your look-see trips, your mobilization, demobilization, as well as all the different aspects as part of the expat life cycle. So in Expat 101, I discussed the following categories of expats, which I have summarized also with some of the durations that these expats go and work on, and I'm just going to delve into some more depth here for you. So the first category is your business trip. So this is where expats travel for business and not to work. It's incidental to the home country employment. You require no work permit, but rather a business visa. And no additional remuneration is usually paid to a business tripper. They also remain on their home country payroll, and there's no cross-charge to the host country. A lot of organisations will pay subsistence allowances or reimburse the expats for their actual expenses. Then you get your short-term assignment. So this is where you work in another jurisdiction, which is more than just business. A work visa is usually required. There may be compliance requirements from a tax perspective, where there's no de minimis rule in the host country or your DTA requirements are not met. Certain employers will pay an additional allowance because of that inconvenience of being away. And these expats are usually not out of the country for longer than 6 months. And you should actively track these expats. That's important in this process as well. Then you've got your classic mobility assignment, and that's your long-term assignment. This is typically between 3 to 5 years, and the period will be determined by your business strategy, along with your visa validity, the length of projects, and the skills transfer. The employees usually ended on their home country payroll, but the benefits are retained to ensure their continuity. Remember, with a long-term expat, the start date on the payroll should align to the work permit date. And I have to stress this because what I see in practice, a lot of organizations will capture the expats on their payroll without even having a valid work permit date. And what I have to stress to all of you here is that your work permit is actually more critical than tax compliance. Remember, if you put people on your payroll and you do not have a valid work permit, it's actually illegal, and there could be like criminal sanctions against companies and the individual. So you need to make sure that work permit date and the payroll start date are completely aligned. Then you would also terminate these expats from a legal and economic relationship in the home country, and that mitigates the permanent establishment risk. And that is one of the reasons why an expat is actually awarded a secondment agreement. Then you have a localization or a permanent transfer, and the difference between a localization and a long-term assignment is that there's a permanent intention not to return to the home country. So the employment agreement for the expat with the home country is legally and economically terminated. You would join the host country payroll as a permanent or fixed-term employee, and they're usually offered gross packages. Remember, they're categorized as a fixed-term employee because of possible work permit requirements. And then your last category is your fixed-term contract. So most often, international assignments are fixed-term for commercial reasons. However, this also refers to expats who do not have an employment agreement before an international assignment commences. The international employee is therefore engaged for a specific purpose, and this is also prevalent for South Africans who enter the market on their own from an international perspective. Remember, the remuneration package is mostly aligned to the offshore employer, and the total guaranteed package or guaranteed net of tax packages are offered to the senior employees. There's usually no withholding tax requirement from the employer perspective, but then remember the employee is fully liable for taxes on these fixed term contracts. Right, now comes the nasty and the fun stuff, all wrapped up in one. So I'm not going to discuss, because now you've all graduated from Expat 101, as employers, we're going to look to the future now, because the way the law's been written, it has been amended. So now this is the only part of the law you will remember going forward, is that from the 1st of March 2020, if a South African resident works in a foreign country for more than 183 days in a 12-month period, the foreign employment income earned is exempt from tax only up to the first R1 million. Right, subject to certain conditions. So they have to meet the 183 days, and 60 of those days need to be consecutive. Right, so I've explained this to you previously, but for the ones who weren't here, that is what's coming into effect from the 1st of March 2020. And what have you done as an employer? Are you ready? This is a massive change to our law, and you as representatives of employers should be geared up and ready for this. So we look and we assist a lot of organizations, and there are various options that you should consider on the table. You've got a double tax agreement, financial immigration. You should be calculating what is the additional cost to the employer or the employee. You should look at your policy changes and how you're communicating this with your employees. And also, what are the payroll implications? These are tough things that are coming up, and employers need to be fully geared and prepared for it.